Hello and welcome to our new session of Global Mobility and COVID-19 series. My name is Friederike Ruch and I'm happy that and hope that all of you are safe and healthy and well, and welcome you to our today's session. It will be our last one from the COVID-19 series. We discussed that we might do one spontaneous maybe by end of May, beginning of June, in case there are really some challenge or some news which definitely will have then or triggering a lot of questions, and which we would like then to answer as well as best as possible. Thank you as well to all of you. We have received a lot of questions, and the majority now we will or we have put together in the next few slides, and will provide you as well with the answers to it. But before we start, I will give you a quick update on the changes as of yesterday. You most likely have realized and seen that the borders were more or less open on Mother's Day, at least between Switzerland and Germany, and everybody who wanted to visit her or his mother was allowed to cross the border. Now, starting from yesterday, we have the situation that basically we can refile the old applications again, or better to say, if the applications had been suspended, the authority will start to review them again. But this is only for the applications which had been filed before the 25th of March or 19th of March. It depends on what the nationality is of the individual. The review is for non-EU EFTA nationals for whom you have filed an application before the 19th of March, and for EU EFTA nationals where you have filed an application before the 25th of March. And those applications, the authority will now start to review again. As well as what is possible that you can do notifications for EU EFTA nationals starting with their local employment here in Switzerland so that they can cross the border, as well as for EU EFTA nationals who are assigned for a project or kind of service to be rendered in Switzerland. Family reunification as well is possible for Swiss and EU EFTA nationals who have an L, B or a C permit. This is what is right now. Starting then from the 8th of June, based on the current timetable we have given by the authority, the border should be for EU EFTA nationals open. Means that for any EU EFTA nationals who will start his employment on the 8th of June or later, he can enter Switzerland on that day without that you have to do any kind of notification or any kind of application. And if everything goes well, by the 15th of June, then the authority will start again to review all applications, which we then can file for more or less anybody. When the border will be open, or the Swiss border will be open, this decision has not been taken yet. There are, and you may have also heard that there are quite strong voices that the border should be open sooner than later. And there are discussions that at least the border between Germany and Switzerland and Austria and Italy shall be maybe even open by the end of the month already completely. But we will see. So we will start now with the questions. We have received a question about what is a realistic start date for new joiners. Now, what we have to do to get a kind of realistic start date is to look or determine what is the nationality of the individual. And on the right-hand side, we listed down the different kind of categories. In case it is an EU-EFTA national, which has a signed employment contract before the 25th of March. If you have one of that person and he shall now join your company, then basically what you can do is you can right now, you can do the notification for him so that he can cross the border and he can basically start any day now. The notification, if you do that, then usually it takes 2 to 3 days until the authority will confirm it, and with the confirmed notification, the individual can enter Switzerland. If the EU-EFTA national, however, has not a signed employment contract before the 25th of March, then he can enter Switzerland based on the timetable which we have currently on the 8th of June. And there, as said, you don't need to do anything. He just can cross the border. Would we recommend that he takes his employment contract with him when crossing the border, so that he has a kind of proof why he will be entering Switzerland. For non-EU-EFTA nationals for whom you have filed an application before the 19th of March, starting from yesterday, you can file those applications anew, or in case you said to the authority they should keep them on hold, just tell them that you do want them to start to review them. And for those, I would imagine that the 1st of July could be a realistic start date. How do I come up with the 1st of July? My assumption is that the authority will right now try to do or to assess any pending case until the 15th of June. Because starting from the 15th of June, we can file all applications for all persons for whom we have not filed any application before. So I assume that the authority as well think that they will receive masses of applications. Even our economy is not at its best level, but still there are people you would like to have here in Switzerland and for whom applications have to be filed. And therefore, I assume that all these old cases or old pending cases, they do want to have dealt with before the 15th of June. And therefore, my expectation is that we will receive all the approvals at latest on the 15th of June. And then in case the non-EU-EFTA national has still to claim a visa, he can go to the embassy, claim the visa, and this still should only take 2 to 3 days to get the visa done, the visa stamp and the passport. And afterwards, the individual can enter Switzerland. So 1st of July should be a realistic date. For non-EU-EFTA nationals for whom we have not filed any application before the 19th of March, so for those people you can only file an application starting from the 15th of June. And then if we imagine that it takes about 3 months to get everything approved, and my assumption is that that definitely will take that long, then 1st of October might be the first realistic start date. However, the 1st of October is something which I would say is a bit, that can still change, because we don't know how many applications really will be filed on the 15th of June and how much the authority have to do then. There might be even a longer delay. Now, I think there are more or less two opinions at the moment there. One opinion is that most likely there will be not that many applications because of the current economic situation, and still companies do not like their employees to travel. On the other hand, if I look at our clients and if I look at the cases we have, I rather assume that they will have to do a lot, and therefore there might be a delay, because to get a non-EU EFTA application reviewed, there still are 3 authorities required. There was another question about new joiner. EU national shall start new in Lucerne. He is married and has a child. Both are Japanese nationals. Can he only enter on his own or together with the family? Now there again, we need now to see the situation in a bit more detail. If he has an employment contract that has been signed prior to the 25th of March, and then he has additionally a rental contract starting at least on the 1st of April, he can just enter basically Switzerland. Now, most of the people will not have a rental agreement starting 1st of April. If this is the case, then what you can do is currently, you can do, as said before already, you can do the notification, because for that you only need to show that the employment contract has been signed prior to the 25th of March. And with the notification, the employee can enter Switzerland. In case now the employment contract has also not been signed before the 25th of March, then at the moment you cannot do anything. You will have to wait, or he has to wait until the 8th of June, and only then he needs to, or he can enter Switzerland. At the moment, the idea from the authority is that basically he will first have to be registered in Switzerland, and basically also should have received already the permit card, and only afterwards then the family reunification can be applied for, and afterwards the family can enter Switzerland. There are discussions at the moment whether in those cases where with the new audience we have from the authorities, whether or not the family might be able to enter together with the employee by, in this example, by the 8th of June. But these are discussions at the moment. The guideline, the received guideline is he first has to get registered and basically also should have received the permit card, and only afterwards we can apply for the family reunification. Another question about new joiner. A Dutch medical doctor plans to move to Zurich. His employment contract starts as of 1st of July with the hospital in Zurich. When can he enter Switzerland? He basically can enter Switzerland as of 8th of June for sure. At least if we keep the timetable which we currently have, then he can enter without the need that anybody has to do something. In case he wants to come already before the 8th of June, then the only possibility is that the employer or someone will do the notification for him. But this is only possible, as mentioned before, in case the employment contract has been signed prior to the 25th of March. The dates, that date, 25th of March, is a given date by the authority. And it is in line, if you remember what I said earlier in regard to the applications. So any application which had been filed for EU EFTA nationals before the 25th of March will be started to review from yesterday on. And therefore, the 25th of March is a date which is linked only to EU EFTA nationals. Then we have a question about family reunification. An EU national is since April 2020 in Switzerland registered and started to work then. He's married to an Ukrainian spouse who currently lives in Poland and has a Polish residence permit. Can't he just enter Switzerland? We have that question about Ukrainian national, but having as well an EU residence permit, like here the Polish one. What is actually or whether that is helping in the application process. In Switzerland, basically, that doesn't help at all. It is, at least in those cases, it doesn't help at all. It's always getting down to what the nationality is of the individual, and only that is relevant for the application. If he has registered in April 2020, I assume he has already received his B permit card. And based on that, the family reunification can be filed starting from this week. And she will just need to wait for the final approval from the Swiss authority, and then has to go to the embassy and claim the visa. Even she has the EU residence permit, she still will have to get a visa, and the visa she will be getting is not a Schengen visa, it will be a national Swiss visa D. Now, some of the embassies or consulates have completely closed and they don't do anything at the moment. But you definitely you have in the end to check. There is the guideline from the Swiss authority that those visas should be issued or are allowed to be issued starting from this week. So it depends, but it depends in the end really on the embassy or on the consulate. Then we have received a question about the Home Office. The Home Office is something which is not that much in regard to immigration, but more about then the tax and the social security implications. If we have an employee who is since March 2020 working in the Home Office and intends to stay working in the Home Office until end of June or even later. The employee is employed in Zurich and his home office is in Constance, Germany, where also his family lives. Before he started to use the Home Office based on COVID-19, he was commuting on a daily basis. What are now the tax and social security implications? It is not sure, and it depends in the end on the authorities. At the moment, still the authorities of at least of our neighboring countries, have the intention that they do not want people who are currently working now in the home office and solely based on COVID-19, because there are restrictions in getting into the country, or there are restrictions from the employer that they are not allowed to go into the office, or maybe the company had to close down completely based on the government ordinance. In those cases, the authorities say that they don't want then these employees and as well as the employers to suffer from it, and that they have to switch then the tax regime as well as the enrollment in the Social Security. Now, this is the intention. At the moment, we don't know for sure, and we most likely will only know for sure in the summer, or maybe even in early autumn. My recommendation is, because it is very difficult to get really a clear and final guaranteed answer to it, to wait until the employee is returning to the normal working pattern, like again, in that case, now commuting on a daily basis, and then checking out the situation about the tax and the Social Security. Because then as well, I assume that the authorities have a bit of clearer picture and know more what they really want to do and how they want to do. Because all of them would like that the people who really are only doing this based on COVID-19, that they definitely have not to switch the tax system or the tax regime as well as the Social Security. However, they also would like to catch those people who basically use that now in order to work from home. So our neighboring countries are in any case a bit more, how shall I put it, suspicious about people, and they usually assume rather that people would like to use whatever there is in their favor, and therefore we will have to wait and see what will happen. You definitely can already check everything right now, but as said, you most likely will not receive a final answer from the various authorities. Then we have received a question about that an Italian national is living in Milano and he shall deliver a machine to a client in Switzerland on the 18th of May. The contract, so the purchase agreement in the end, was concluded as of 4th of May. Now the question is whether that is possible, that the Italian employee is able to come to Switzerland and deliver the machine. Yes, that is possible. In the audience, it's clearly indicating that any delivery is possible. You just have to provide, when crossing the border, you have to provide the documentation about the purchase agreement, and that it's only about the delivery and nothing else. In Switzerland, we currently do not have quarantine requirements ordered by the, in general, ordered by the Swiss government. However, there is the possibility that the custom may request it. And there is the possibility that if he crosses the border back to Italy in the end, that Italy will put him in quarantine. What you may have seen or heard is that people who are delivering machines or goods, they currently, the driver will only deliver it, but actually not get out of his truck or whatever, and let then the company themselves upload everything so that there's no possibility or no risk that there is any quarantine requirement coming up for him. Then we have received a question about service agreement. A Spanish national is living in Madrid and is employed by a Spanish company in the IT sector. They have a support contract in regard to the supporting of the IT databases of the Swiss company, and the contract is dated 1st of February 2020. He is now required to work from the 18th of May to the 30th of May in Zurich. Is this possible? Yes, this is possible because the contract between the Spanish company and the Swiss company is concluded before the 25th of March 2020. Therefore, for that employee now, you can do the notification for the period 18th of May to 30th of May. In case that Spanish company has not used the notification this year and has not sent any person so far to Switzerland in 2020, usually the company would be able to have the first 8 days sending people without the need of a notification. Now, because of the new regulation and the new rules, it is that the notification needs to be done from the first day already. So for all these days he is working in Zurich, the notification has to be done. But it's only for the work days. So the Saturday and Sunday, which is in between, those days have not to be notified. Assignment and family reunification. We have received there also a question. It's about an Indian national who is on a 4-month assignment in Zurich and shall be extended by the 20th of May based on COVID-19 for a period of 8 months. Further, his wife from India would like to join him as well. Can we request the extension as well as can the spouse join him? The extension of the assignment as well as then the switch of the work permit, because the 4-month work permit is a work permit without any quota restriction. And if we now switch from that 4-month permit to a real short-term permit, then that application can be filed and the authority will review it. And that had been also already before as well. That has nothing to do now with the new rules starting from the 11th of May. What you definitely have to look at is that you file the application before the 20th of May, because if that is the date when when his current work permit is expiring, it needs to be filed before. The family reunification in the end, so that his wife can join him as well, can only be filed after the 15th of June. So for that, she and he, both of them, have to wait until she is able to enter Switzerland again. Please keep in mind that if there is then the need that the wife wants to join him, it might take 2 months as well until the family reunification will be reviewed and assessed. There's always the possibility that you also can file the family reunification at the embassy or consulate where the spouse is living. you definitely can also choose that option. It might be even a bit quicker in the current situation, but I cannot guarantee you that as well. Then we have received questions about the change of residency. As of 1st of July, an university leaver, US national, shall start to work at a company in Vaud. He has just finished his studies at the EPFL and his permit card expires on the 15th of July. Is it possible to get a work permit for him without a job search? It's not completely linked now to the new regulation. There is the EPFL is more or less like the university here in Zurich. The same in Canton Vaud, it is the major university, and they do have a special agreement in Canton Vaud that there is no job search really required if somebody has finished his studies at the EPFL and is then starting to work at a company in Canton Vaud or even in Canton Geneva, then there's no job search required. The only thing you will have to do is you have to justify why that individual is a specialist and why you definitely want to hire him. But those applications, first of all, you can file them and there's no job search required. This is not the same situation as we have it in Canton of Zurich, for example, where people who leave the university here in Zurich and want to start to work at a private company, there are kind of restrictions to it. I assume you know there's an article in the law which should make it easier for university leaver to start to work in Switzerland. But as said, it's not the same rule in Canton of Zurich. And the last question we wanted to discuss here is about traveling abroad, whether anybody can travel abroad and how strict the other countries are. Basically, if you find a flight or a train, then there is no problem in traveling abroad. It's in the end up to you whether you do want to do that in the current situation or not. The restrictions in the other countries, they change also not really on a day or sometimes even on a daily basis. And the restrictions are sometimes you are not allowed to enter the other country, so you will have to check before whether you are be able to enter the other country. In the EU member states or all the EU member states basically have the restriction of really that you not will be able to enter the country at all. In other countries, in the Asian as well as South American and Middle East, you have quarantine requirements. And some are quite severely, some is even if you enter the country, they actually check about your health status and take your temperature when you want to enter. And in case you do have a temperature or they see that there is something not as it should, you will not be able to enter the country at all. And it's not just then that you put into quarantine for a couple of days. It's also just in the Asian countries that they are even more careful than we are. It's not just about wearing a mask, but it's about the restrictions, how much you actually can move around, as well as that you need certain documentation papers always with you to be able to go into the next city in the other country, or even to go to the next place. Also, hotels have very restrictive orders from the government that they need to see who is entering their hotel, and sometimes even have also to check on the health status. There is China, Singapore, South Korea are quite severely in that regard, but also we had a couple of cases in the Arab Emirates where they are quite restrictive. So the question was to give an overview about the countries and the travel restrictions. This is this is not that easily done. My suggestion is really, and I think the best overview you might get if you look at the certain travel airlines and check there on their website, because they have different overviews about the various countries they are flying to, about the restrictions. I have looked in the past, which I found quite convenient, from Cathay Pacific. They have quite a good overview about all the countries, but on the Swiss website you will find also information on that. Otherwise, you definitely have to check each country where you would like to have your people going to. The thing is as well, you definitely have to check that, not really on a daily basis, but even if you check it now and somebody is traveling in a week, there might be changes. So you also have then to check then before he takes off what the requirements are. These are the questions we have received or summarized for this session. I hope you all enjoyed it and you had your questions you sent us answered. In case there are any follow-up questions or anything else you need, just contact us, and we definitely will try to help you as best as possible. Before we stop this session, I would like to show you what we will definitely do in the next few weeks. We still have our other webinars, and there will be one on Thursday about management or leading people and the tax implications of mainly between Germany and Switzerland. And then there will be the next webinar in English about business traveler on the 28th of May. And then in August, on the 27th of August, we have one about best practice on assignments to Singapore, and we will see then whether there are again more assignments to Singapore. We still have, which I was quite surprised, still a couple of questions about it, and people or clients still sending people to Singapore. So that has not stopped just because of COVID-19. And the other two English webinars we have is about tax equalization, which takes place on the 26th of November. And then on the 3rd of December, we have again a webinar in regards to assignments to Asia, this time about China and Hong Kong. Here you can find us on YouTube. So we would like to ask you to look at us and see what we have there, as well as you can call us on our hotline in case you have any questions and you would like just to have answered them quite quickly. We wish you now a very good time and that all of you will stay safe and healthy in that challenging time, and hope to see you then soon at one of our events. Thank you and have a great week.